Yeah, I just try to put on a couple of keep it pretty sparse. That's the thing. I guess that's the idea with most of these flies. That you don't dress them too heavy, so you get them to sink.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It is. One of the problems there's going to be one of the problems you ask people, and they all get it take 10 more years to get it.
What's your what patterns do you like to fish for steelhead?
Black and blue.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the other funny thing. I always I talk to all of I try to ask my guests, some of the same questions. In fly tying, it's always like they tell me, but then it's like it really doesn't matter. Get in front of the fish. What rivers do you fish?
Clackamas, Sandy.
Oh, you do? Oh, cool.
I've been fishing some of the Trask
Yep. Nice.
this winter. Clackamas and Sandy haven't been all that hot.
No, they haven't. Yeah, it hasn't been great.
Where are you from?
I'm from that area too. I grew up in Gresham, but I'm out in Nehalem now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I always throw on, give it a little action. Chartreuse is another good color. I got it in the tail. But sometimes you throw any of these guys are wagging.
Generally, I always use that for a wing, one way or the other.
Oh yeah, yep. Yeah. So what's your? You do pretty well steelhead fishing. Do you ever have any questions, or you got it pretty much dialed in?
Excuse me, guys. I got to run because I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not running away from the comments and stuff.
I just haven't done all that great down around here.
Yeah.
You know, I've been up Canada a bit.
Oh really?
Not a lot.
Yeah. Like Skeena or?
Skeena,
Oh, cool.
Oakley, Maurice.
Awesome. Wow. Where do you?
The copper.
That's really cool.
So.
How has that been for you?
Oh, I've done exceptionally well.
Yeah. What this is? Where is it here? Again, black and blue.
Yeah.
This is from a local guy up there. Ties a fly that I use. I've been up to the Skeena as well. I can't remember what he calls that, but it's just his, it's egg sucking leech, but it's kind of an old school style. How about flash? Do you use a lot of flash on your flies?
Not a lot, but
Yeah.
I generally have some.
Yeah.
Almost all of them.
Yep.
Lately the water has been so low and clear.
I know. Yeah, that's the thing with the water. It's like, gosh, it's nice when it's not raging.
Yeah.
But when it gets so low and clear, I mean, those fish are, they're just spooky. That's the bottom line. I mean.
Yeah, I was over on the coast earlier this week, and the rivers are all low and clear.
Yeah.
It's really, really tough.
It is tough, yeah. Yeah, that's the other question I always, talking about kind of tips and stuff like that for people when I ask my guests. And, that's one of them they always say is like, don't, start in really close.
Yeah.
Like there's one quote, it's called, what it was it Scott mentioned, 20 feet and, what is it? Basically, it's ankle deep in 20 feet.
Yeah.
Ankle deep in 20 feet. So, you don't, because a lot of guys, you know how it is, you want to, people want to cast a mile.
Oh, yeah.
Do you do any spay? You do the spay casting? Oh, you do? Oh, cool. Awesome.
And some indicators.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, I do both as well.
Depending on the type of water. If it's swinging water, I'll swim.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the cool thing having Simon on because I'd been wanting to talk to him, and man, he did a great job. He broke down a little bit of the history of kind of spay lines and spay rods, and yeah, it was just a cool episode. Yeah, that's pretty much the fly, and then I just add a little collar up front. Throw a little blue. How you doing?
Good.
Just talking a little about Steelhead.
There's a lot to talk about there.
That is true. I was telling him I have a Steelhead fly fishing show. I interview Steelhead, all the biggest guests from around the world, anywhere Steelhead live or fish. The idea with the show, on top of teaching people about how to get more fish, is I'm just documenting the history of fly fishing for Steelhead, trying to connect all the dots, and yeah, so it's been a lot of fun. I'm about 6 months into it.
What do you think about phases of the moon?
Oh, phases, yeah, I mean, totally. Phases of the moon are, yep. I think it's all connected, right? I mean, we're all natural creatures.
So do you have any rule of thumb on what phase of the moon?
That is an awesome question. I don't, but I'm going to ask that question. If you listen to that show, I will ask that to my next guest, who's coming up this week. I got, I can't remember. I interviewed John Shuey a couple episodes ago. Oh, I can't remember who's coming up this week. I do a new guest every week, and I kind of do not only Pacific Northwest, but I'm doing the entire Steelhead distribution. So I do Great Lakes. I do, I do the whole everywhere. I want to get the whole history. And the cool thing is that Great Lakes, a lot of us don't think about it very much, but a lot of the guys out there, they come out here and fish, and there's a lot of connections, and there's tips you can learn from both of them. So yeah.
They're catching our fish back there.
They are doing that, yeah. But some of them, I mean, now are pretty much like naturalized, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's been going on so long that it's their own fish. So.
On the north shore of Lake Superior, there's a place, I think it's called Cascade Creek, up close to Canada, in Minnesota. It looks like you're in Banff. It's red basalt, white water question, and there's rainbow trout.
I'm definitely going to ask that question because that's a great one. I've had some guests that go in a lot more detail on, like the history, and some get into more of the tactics. And it's really cool. Like Tom Larimer, who's is a guide out, knows a lot about the Deschutes. Tom. He that was an episode number I think 11. It was an amazing show. He breaks down, because one of my things, I fished the Deschutes tons, but I haven't fished a lot in the daytime. Because it's one of those things, take a break in the daytime, fish hard in the morning, hard in the evening. But Tom, as he was guiding there a lot, he really hit it hard in the daytime. And he talks in episode 11 all about how he does it. And the way he does it is he fishes stuff like this times 20. Just tons of, as much flash as you could, yeah, exactly, as much as you could put on it, just boom, boom, boom. And the idea he talks about in the show is that, like the gear guys out there, I think they're fishing midday, right? I mean, they're out there catching fish, and they're using that sort of stuff. So that's probably one of my favorite. If I had to pick one episode to go listen to, it would probably be that one, because it was just and a lot of people tell me that too. They say that show was awesome. It was really good.
So if you go on this podcast, can you then find that?
Yeah, so it basically, the way the podcasting is just a generic term, so it's like Kleenex, right? Everybody just calls it Kleenex. But iTunes is the biggest. 70% of all people that listen to audio shows online go through iTunes. And that's why podcasting, they came up with that name. So that's why it's called podcasting. But podcast just means an audio show. So you can listen to it anywhere. So if you have iTunes, you can go to iTunes, or you can just go to my website right here, wetflyswing.com/show, and that'll give you all the episodes. So you can go through and click any link you want. Like I said, episode 11, click that if you want. You'll find it. It's all there.
I'll try that.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I've had a kind of a goal to start a podcast just because I've been into it myself. I listen to them all the time for all sorts of. It's really a pretty cool thing because you can, any subject in the world, people are making shows now about it, and like my show, like who else has a steelhead, all steelhead fly fishing, right? I mean, I do. I've got a show that's like, that's what's cool. That's what's cool about it. So this fly, I was telling, what was your name? Doug. Doug, I'm Dave, and what was yours? John, okay. Oh, Don, okay. It was, I interviewed Simon Gosworth in episode 9, and he did a great job, broke down kind of the history of spay lines and and rods and stuff. But I always ask my guests, what are your top 1 or 2 flies? And this is Simon's top fly. A little bit different version, but it's called a pick your pocket. And so all my guests have a. If you want to hear like all these, you know, what the flies they go to, that's the one. So yeah, I pretty much just do that and then just throw on some old school eyes on top.
So is this what you do for your living?
I do. I have some online business. This show is more of a passion project. You know, I have a goal to hopefully do more of the fly fishing and this stuff to get more revenue out of it. But I have some online businesses and other things. I do a lot of online stuff. So yeah. I mean, my goal is my goal to find a way to support the family with the fly fishing stuff I do online. So I'll be doing I have a YouTube channel. I'll be doing a little summary of my talk today and everything. In fact, we're chatting this. I'm videoing this as I go, so you'll probably see, if you go to my YouTube channel, you might see a little clip of us talking here. Yeah, I'm not a. You know, the funny thing about it is what's cool about it is, like, I'm not a total expert. I mean, I've caught tons of steelhead. It's my passion. I love steelhead fishing, but there's so many more people that know so much more than I do, and that's what this is about. Like, let's help that new person out there that hasn't caught their first steelhead. Let's give them a couple tips to help them get a fish. That's basically the premise of the show. Yeah, before they end here, I'll try to remember who my next guest is, because I'm going to ask him your question, and then you'll know. Well, you'll know it's episode. So I've got 12 episodes published, but I've got another 6 that are already done. I publish every week, every Tuesday. So every Tuesday morning you'll see a new show. So I think I'm at episode 20 is the next one, and if I could think of who that is. Yeah, I'm more of my history is a little more classic style. Summer Steelhead on the Deschutes is, and like John, when I interviewed him, it was so cool because just getting the whole history of, he's done some awesome work, obviously, and hearing him talk about the history of steelhead fishing was pretty cool. What's your go-to pattern for steelhead?
I don't think that I have a go-to pattern. Black and red and black and blue.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the other, I'm kind of an egg-sucking leech, sort of. I was showing him. That's a fly actually tied by a guy up in BC. He helped coach me a little bit on the BC. It's kind of an old style hook, but that's one that worked really well for us up there.
Stinger hooks on any of yours?
This one's going to have have you seen these two flies? You just kind of pull the leader, on this. I do the stinger style, like you can see on a couple of those. Yeah, like that one. So that's the style, but that one's actually onto a hook. This one I'm going to pull off, stick the leader through and then cinch up. It'll be essentially the same thing. Yep. Yeah, and that's the difference, is that this is like the old style, right? The big 3/0, which they work, but the problem with this is that it's not the best for the fish because you have this big hook, kind of like a lever, jacking around. It's kind of ripping the fish up, right? It's not as good as the Stinger is nice because it's just this tiny little hook, and it works effectively. And on the two flies, the cool thing is that the tube will also pull off sometimes, so you'll just have a little tiny hook in the corner of the mouth, and it's great because that's better for the fish. Less thrashing and stuff like that.
Some of the time that gets over my leader.
Oh, when you're on that one?
No, on the kind that has a
Oh, a cord.
cord.
Yeah, totally. Yep, that's not
So if
good.
you don't know,
No.
you sort of have to
See,
it kind of looks a little different.
and that's why I think with this where it's suctioned up.